you just shows you what a caveman I am, right? But like I honestly believe some people ain't even got no business knowing this shit, let alone claiming to teach it. Because I think I'm responsible enough to teach martial arts. I think I'm responsible enough to keep my students safe from the dangerous techniques that, where I'm teaching it to them, but I'm teaching it in a way where, everyone, is still safe. But my problem is that, I have no licenses, I have no titles, you know, that are worthy of, me being, some sort of instructor, let alone a sensei. So that right there, that in and of itself, even with my, again, extensive years of research in multitudes of martial arts from multitudes of countries, not only Asian countries, even European countries, and even to an extent, even a few African countries. Like, one research, because, I'm a student of Kali, is a Zulu stick fighter. Because I looked at that, after I saw a few videos of that, and, I thought to myself, well, hell, that's basically Kali with a Zulu shield. Same angles and everything. So, that's something that, a Kali practitioner could or should be able to just, pick up off the whim. Or even someone who does HEMA, who's, had experience in sword and shield, basic sword and shield. So yeah, I kind of because I was thinking about doing it, because I'm still, even though it's been almost 4 years since I've been in this town, I still feel like I'm sort of new here, and I'm kind of getting my groundings and getting my feet wet as far as certain businesses, because I got business cards for the whole translation thing. And even though I'm not doing it right now, I got business cards on standby for a catering service, for my future catering service, because like I told y'all in the last vid, I'm a cook. But when it comes to Markman, the more I think about it, and I've seriously weighed in and considered it, the more I think about teaching martial arts, seeing the conditions of the planet, seeing the conditions of society, seeing the conditions as far as where I stand with society, as a man of a darker hue, I'm like, you know what? Because how do you think I would be received teaching? And that's just one of the things that I have to look at. How do you think I would be received, being a man of my skin tone, teaching kenjutsu? Teaching not kendo, kenjutsu, because I don't do kendo, I do kenjutsu. And I actually took the time, unlike most of my Japanese counterparts, to actually know the difference and give enough of a damn of the difference to stick to the old ways, instead of this modern day sport that was actually, only practiced at one point by police officers, whose origins, mind you, just like judo's origins come from jujitsu, whose origins, kendo, come from kenjutsu. You'd be better off just practicing kenjutsu, if you ask me. That's neither here nor there. I'm not going to pry into the mind of the Japanese and how they think, because attempting to do something like that, I'm gonna miss the mark each and every time. But yeah, I finally just, because I was kind of 50-50. I was kind of like, oh, maybe I should do it, maybe I shouldn't do it. But at this point, I've just made up my mind. I said, with the exception of friends and people who might be trying to learn a thing or two, if there's like individuals, things of that nature, I don't mind passing, I don't mind sharing techniques. That's not an issue at all. But my thing is being in a class setting where I am teaching people how to kill. I'm teaching people how to fight, and I am teaching them how to kill. I say, you know what? Nah, I'm good. I guess that's just too much of a burden for me to bear, because I don't want nothing to do with that shit. And stories like this asshole who practically murdered this kid are, reasons why. And it's not so much that, oh, I don't trust myself. It's not even that, oh, well, I don't trust myself because, I might fuck around. Yeah, accidentally, shit happens. You might fuck around and kill somebody fucking with martial arts. Just like you can even kill somebody fucking with a sport like football. Because all it takes, because some of y'all probably thinking, well, how could you kill, football is the safest. Well, have you noticed all the traumatic brain injuries that a lot of these fuckers have? Those injuries are almost somewhat similar to what we find in boxing. And not only that, I'm pretty sure y'all are familiar with this little machine called a defibrillator. Well, the reason why you go to gyms and places where, there's a lot of contact going on, like, sports activities and whatnot, the reason why you find things like a defibrillator is because if your chest area, basically your heart, is struck within a certain fraction of a time during its heartbeat, and it doesn't even take a very hard blow. It doesn't take a hard blow at all. It can be a very soft blow. It can be from somebody throwing a pass at you with a basketball or a football. If you're struck in the chest within the fraction of that second during that heartbeat, your heart will stop. And it's a 1 in a million chance that it happens, but the thing is, it happens. I was in class with someone one time back in my high school days, where she said she had a friend of hers. Yeah, it almost sounds like, yeah, I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody's story, right? But yeah, there was a student in my class who said she knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody, basically, who died during a basketball game because somebody threw a pass past the basketball and it hit her in the chest during the time that her heart was beating within that fraction, and it killed her. So that alone, that in and of itself, just shows you just how risky teaching martial arts is. It's a very risky task. It's a very responsible task. Like I said, just like the whole thing with you being a gun owner as well as a firearms instructor. And that's just something that you don't give. That's just a title that you just don't give to people who are completely fucking irresponsible. So much so that, they're willing to allow children to be tossed around like a fucking rag doll and then wondering how they end up, on life support until their parents decide to take that life support off them. Matter of fact, honestly, me personally, I don't even believe in teaching children martial arts. Because it's dangerous. Martial art, and it makes sense. Would you want to teach a kid a weapon-based martial arts where they're up here using knives and sticks and shit? That's something that you would teach the child soldiers, like in the jungles of Africa somewhere. Which, not to say that I support child soldiers or the rearing of child soldiers, because that's some bullshit in and of itself. But yeah, I don't even believe, with the exception of maybe boxing, maybe kickboxing, maybe karate, maybe taekwondo, maybe judo, maybe wrestling, shit that you find in the MMA. Shit that you find in MMA bouts. But real martial arts, where again, you're striking nerves, striking arteries, breaking bones, breaking necks, Because that's one thing where, UFC has us fooled. Yes, those arts are effective, but, there's a whole different world of martial arts that you just ain't gonna find in these sport arenas. As effective as those arts are, is these combat, what I like to call combat sports. Because, even the origins of boxing were very combative, in which they didn't even use like gloves and none. They used something similar to brass knuckles. I like to think that the Qatar knives of India, being shaped the way that they're shaped, are used in a similar fashion where you can just box somebody, you can box stab them, like, so you're stabbing them, but you're attacking them like a boxer. The bulk of Filipino boxing comes from knife techniques. Same principle, where you're throwing jabs and crosses. You're throwing stabs. Instead of jabs, you're throwing stabs. So you can, just from off of that, you can see why I don't believe in teaching traditional martial arts to children, let alone irresponsible, even grown-ups, even to them motherfuckers. Because traditionally speaking, martial arts wasn't even allowed to be taught to children until they were like 15 to 16. Children weren't allowed to learn martial arts. In a traditional sense, when you look at the vast majority of cultures, there's exceptions, because you be seeing like little kids doing in China, doing Shaolin Kung Fu and whatnot. But it's funny I say that because I've seen little kids do Shaolin Kung Fu, and I know Shaolin Kung Fu is badass, but I'm just saying, I've noticed I haven't seen too many children doing Wudang Kung Fu, which focuses more on internal arts and internal breathing. Because I think Shaolin has Wudang beat on, fighting techniques per se, and it does have its versions of Qigong, like both externally and internally. But I think Wudang Kung Fu has Shaolin Kung Fu beat on, the understanding of Qi and how to better acquire it, and that's where they have them beat. So you don't have to know a whole myriad of techniques. You can just hit a motherfucker and send his ass flying because you understand the mechanics of, internal strength and external strength. And like I said, as many times as I've seen Shaolin kids, I haven't seen too many Wudang kids, if any at all. And there might be a reason for that. There just might be a reason for that. I've seen a shit ton of Kendo kids and Judo kids. I haven't seen too many Kenjutsu kids, and Jujutsu kids. There might be a reason for that. Hell, in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, I've seen plenty of Silat kids, sports Silat kids, but I haven't seen too many certain sects of Silat where, like, Chimande and Silat Serat, the neck breaking styles, the spine breaking styles of Silat. I don't see too many kids in that, if any at all. And I'm pretty sure there's a reason for that. So I think I'm going to just leave it at that and say it is what it is, as far as go ahead and fall on my sword. No pun intended, because I do have a shit ton of swords to fall on. Yeah, but I ain't no Roman. But yeah, I think that's pretty much my stance on martial arts, and whether or not I should teach it, or if I should just be one of those people who, back in the day where, they kept their martial arts secrets, the most secrets of secrets. Literally cults shit, hidden from the masses, hidden from the public. And there was a reason for that. They didn't want to get their shit, they didn't want to be exposed, they didn't want to have their schools taken down, and by some asshole who just wants to shut them down and using their own techniques against them to shut the school down. And plus, nobody wanted to teach a bunch of irresponsible assholes who would just go out here and use it to bully and beat up people and, fucking go around murdering people. So it's like I'm following the very same traditions as those people who recognize how lethal martial arts is, and how lethal martial arts are, and just said, we're going to keep these arts within our people, our tribe, our clan, and as far as the rest of these folks, fuck these folks. We ain't teaching them shit. They're not getting in. They're not going to learn